without even good evening, members of the media. This is our first press briefing since the June 30th, and we thought it would be very important to have this press briefing because it's already been over a month. So today marks 34 days after the entire South Africa, particularly those who love their country, took to the streets. We had over 300 marches across the country, which resulted in over 200,000 South Africans taken to the streets on the same day. And we must categorically state that South Africans are not violent. South Africans are not xenophobic, and their cry is that of the soul of South Africa, and it must be protected. These protests were free from any violence. This was not occasioned by the wasteful expenditure and the dramatization of the people's pain by their very own government. We must state over and over again that there was no destruction of property, not because South Africans are scared of government or they're incapable, but there was no violation of the rights of foreign nationals, and it was not because of the police, but it was because South Africans love their country. They respect its laws, and we subscribe to the spirit of Ubuntu, and all that we want is the enforcement of the country's laws. Our communities and 27 anti-illegal immigration civic organizations are the ones that worked tirelessly in a quest to root out the lawlessness and the effects of illegal immigration that had almost become a permanent mark in our country. Over 100,000 illegal immigrants have left our communities, and eventually they were repatriated back to their own countries. Many of these fellow brothers and sisters lived under inhumane conditions. They lived in informal settlements, and in these places, many of them contributed to the skyrocketing crime, while others were being used as modern-day slaves by those who own the means of production, which is a cruel system, and we are prepared to fight for and die for if needs be. So while we acknowledge that this is only the beginning, we note with appreciation some of the positive outcomes from what some label as xenophobia. And we state that it's a clear immigration crisis, and it's from our porous borders. Many children of illegal immigrants have left the country with their parents, paving a way for South African children to access basic education. At the end of last year, we were flooded with cries from concerned parents whose children had no place in school, leading us to demonstrate outside Addington Primary School. Thousands of immigrants who abused our healthcare facilities have also left the country, saving government millions in expenditure for medication, surgeries, clinics, and hospital admissions, and therefore many South African lives have been saved. Many South Africans, for the first time in a long time, actually managed to get access to healthcare that they deserve, therefore allowing our healthcare workers to work under a far more conducive environment that affords them an opportunity to give attention to South African patients. We've also seen a significant reduction in crime, particularly in areas such as the Durban Central District, because they've issued out the statistics already, where it was stated that the crime has reduced by over 28%, a confirmation that irregular migration has a serious impact on crime. These results come from the cleanups that we also have had in the Durban CBD, which have contributed immensely to more police visibility, less illegal businesses operating, and safer and cleaner spaces. This period has also been a period of resistance and fight back by direct beneficiaries of crime. We have seen the Somalis, the Pakistanis, Ethiopians, Nigerians, which is some of the countries who have given our communities a very difficult time, and they are refusing to leave. While many continue to conduct illegal activities, disguising them as businesses, they have now taken it a step further and decided to pay our South Africans, the protection fee mafias, businesses, to kill fellow South Africans who are fighting for the liberation of this country from illegal immigration and from the bondages of crime that have killed our brothers Andile Mbuyelwa Somqaka and Tato Senganga Molosangwe. And now they've added to their list of lives taken Douglas Mfene Tusim. May their souls rest in peace. Today we'd like to say to their families, their deaths have not been in vain. Their spirits will speak. Their children will not suffer while we keep quiet and fold our arms. We have nothing to lose anymore because losing our country is definitely not an option. Today we stand in so much pain, so many unanswered questions, and with renewed vigor, and understanding that our problems are far from being over. Therefore, we have no choice, but we must continue the fight. Over the past 3 months, our leaders have been killed, beaten up. Foreign nationals have continued to rape and kill women. Children have continued to die from eating food from their spoil shops. And today, while we join hands in prayer, we'd like to also pray for our sister, Nomtanda Zombere, the sister of Pastor Mjosti, who's currently fighting for her life in hospital, having been stabbed over 40 times by Fulgulence Nimubone, a soldier who left his country and walked into our borders to start a new life of pretending to be a pastor while being a well-trained militant in Congo. Only God knows how many more crimes he's committed and how exactly was he getting by in this country, as many of them do. Yet we have seen absolutely no empathy from the Minister of Police for all of these crimes. While we work hard to convince society to remain calm, we also keep being provoked by politicians, provoked by unscrupulous business people, as well as NPOs and NGOs. We have seen skyrocketing useless press briefings aimed at launching an onslaught against the movement and giving us a new label every day. A very myopic tendency we have ignored for far too long, and today we will respond to it. Mr. Fikile Mbalula, through the figment of his imagination, has come out guns blazing, suggesting that we are a political project yet to be properly unveiled. And on some days he claims we are a project of the IFP, some days of the MK, some days of Israel, depending on what mood he's in or what substance. Not one of the boss's press briefings seeks to acknowledge the damage and pain that they have caused to the many families from their negligence of our borders. How many more families have been destroyed because of the drugs and corrupt activities, as we have heard at the Madanga Commission? When does he apologize to the parents whose children have died because of spoil shop killings or the spoil shop mafias? Or are those families also political parties or political projects? In his last episode of his live recorded broadcast in the media, Mr. Mbalula illogically stated that the movement was not happy that other members had met with the president. Yet we had already addressed this issue in our statement, where we stated that everyone has a right to meet with anyone, including the president. Our focus has always been in protection of the citizens of this country and not on getting photo ops. In his vent, he made noise about their leaders being booed at our marches, and he said nothing about the reasons why their members of the public decided to boo them. Surely this should have been an opportunity for him to reflect on why people were booing certain leaders while celebrating others. That is not boos that are funded, but they are an expression of deep pain and dissatisfaction. So rather than looking for excuses or someone to blame, maybe it's an opportunity for him to do some self-introspection. South Africans have been crying out for help, longing for a minister who cares about the people of this country, a minister who understands that our people continue to be ravaged by drugs and crimes committed by foreign nationals. And this Minister of Police that we have does not ever, not once, meet with black communities to listen to our cries. He does not see a need to come to our townships and listen to what the people have to say. On the other side, yet the minister has continuously engaged with foreign nationals, particularly those from Pakistan and Somalia, and interestingly has left out those from Malawi, Zimbabwe, and Congo. For many years, South Africans have accepted that they are second-class citizens in their own country. But today we confirm that they have decided to stand up for themselves, and they want to be treated the same way that minority groups are treated in the country. We have also noted with grave concern contents of a circular issued by the South African Police Service, which is dated the 20th of July 2026, under the hand of MJ Mamoteti, who is the Divisional Commissioner and Operations directing the member of all SAPS to refrain from participating in any action arranged by civilians to identify, threaten, and remove all foreigners, as they claim, from their homes or businesses, or threatened to charge the police officers. He or she further directed that community leaders and private individuals who complained about suspected undocumented persons must be referred to the Department of Home Affairs, or BMA. It is our respectful view that this seeks to diminish and or undermine that being in the country without proper documents and or illegally is a crime, and therefore this circular invites the police not to act even when crime is committed right in front of them. And at first, the same police said that citizens are not allowed to do anything that has to do with foreign nationals. Now they're saying that the police also don't have to do anything that has to do with undocumented foreign nationals. So who exactly is supposed to do something? It has become clear that our police have been underfunded. The police do not have enough vans. They do not have enough holding cells, nor do they have enough guns. Do they have enough food? Do they have enough staff? And even enough food to feed the illegal immigrants when they are apprehended. These challenges make it difficult for the hard men and women working in blue who are actually doing their job to protect South African citizens. And as a result, many illegal immigrants who commit crime in our society or are found to be illegal in the country are released back to the unsuspecting public that continue to suffer at the hand of these criminals. So we call upon government to take a bold decision and increase the budget which is allocated to the police. We call upon government to ensure that there is an urgent realignment between the police, Home Affairs, and BMA in order to address the current challenges. And if it requires for the amendment of laws, then it needs to be done so urgently. So while we talk about the amendment of our laws, we call upon government to either put up a proper border wall or properly fence our border as a matter of urgency. It's not just about illegal people coming into the country, but also the illegal goods and who possess far more danger to our lives than we can ever imagine. Otherwise, we will remain in the streets until we no longer feel unsafe in our own country. Some of the positives is also gradually we are seeing large numbers of foreign nationals leaving our rural areas and townships, opening spaces for our people to run and control the township economy which had been taken away from them. We have been working tirelessly behind closed doors, engaging with banks, businesses, business chambers, government, traditional leaders, religious sector, and communities to ensure that we re-establish a viable economy owned by black and marginalized people in our country. In the next 2 months, we will announce a massive partnership led by communities aimed at creating a voice for the voiceless in South Africa who want to run successful businesses. We have had successful engagements which are currently ongoing with role players within the delivery industry, The industry offers opportunities to about 10,000 young people who are currently looking for jobs in that sector. And we are working with all role players in a quest to ensure that this industry is reserved only for South Africans, because I can assure you there are no jobs that South Africans do not want to do. The movement is also not born out of hate or seeking a political spot in government, but it is a machinery in the hands of South Africans which should be utilized forever. The movement has done a careful study study of the problems facing the South African people, black people in particular. The question has always been, who speaks for South Africans? And the answer is, other than politicians who have been placed in parliament, absolutely nobody. South Africans live in an unsecured country with no borders, and apart from marching and voting, they have no one to look up to help. Black people die at the corridors of hospitals without medical attention. Their pain goes unnoticed. Their children are deprived of their right to study robotics in rural areas and townships. A right not provided because the budget goes to people flocking into a country unknown. The police remain extremely underfunded, yet the citizens have nowhere to go to complain. Today we announce the movement's bold decision to establish a forum for all South Africans and blacks in particular. This forum will provide justice to the voiceless South Africans who for many years justice had remained a distant cousin. We have established a non-profit entity which shall trade under the name of SA First Forum. This organization will be the vanguard of South African citizens. It will, as and when necessary, litigate against the state on behalf of predominantly black people, owners of the economy and private individuals. The objective of the forum is to create a justice and legal buffer. South Africans who cannot vindicate their legal rights, the first case to be dealt with by this forum shall be in relation to the circular which has been issued by the South African Police Service, which we deem to be unconstitutional. The people of our country continue to suffer untold pain as a result of drugs sold to the youth, and at the pace at which the country is going, this means we will have no men in the near future. Either they'll be high on drugs or illicit alcohol. Young children continue to be trafficked daily and sold as sexual slaves across the country and across the world. Communities still live in squalor with no basic services, sometimes with no shelter over their heads. And the movement has once again decided to establish a foundation tasked with the responsibility to fight social ills in our communities, run programs to take young people from the streets, help them to survive and come out of drug addiction, and integrate them back into our communities, and help young women claim their lives from prostitution in a claim to relive a meaningful life. The movement will also use this foundation to engage with all the like-minded South Africans to fund the education of a black child, build a safe net for the future of our country. The foundation shall trade under the name and style M&M Foundation, and this entity has been registered as a non-profit organization. The movement shall engage in the process of establishing boards for these entities and appoint acting chief executive officers in the next coming weeks. We wish to record that our efforts have not been in vain. The submission by the good South Africans are slowly yielding positive results, with the white paper already moving in Parliament, and this will pave a way for the introduction of the first safe country principle, which to our joy and excitement means that there'll be no Ethiopians, Somalians, Nigerians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis running to South Africa claiming they're running away from persecution and they are refugees. We can't wait for that one. We also want to thank the Director General of the Department of Home Affairs, Mr. Tommy Makole, who has been very, very helpful when it comes to issues that we raise that have to deal with the issue of illegal immigration. and not only him, but his team for working tirelessly to save South Africans from the vultures and the little that resources that they have, because we know as well the Department of Home Affairs is highly underfunded, much like everything else in this country, which makes you wonder, where does the money in this country actually go to? And we also want to thank Mr. Njabulundu Nzuza, the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs, for standing with the people during this time. We've seen him on the ground, we've seen him going out and making sure that there's operations in different places. And this is the kind of leadership that we deserve. And the less we say about the Minister of Home Affairs, who never makes an appearance anywhere, the better. Safe to conclude that the Minister does not associate himself with the people of the country or their problems, a reality that we must never forget. We want to thank South Africans for their resilience, commitment, and dedication. This war we must fight united, even during the most difficult of times. We must mobilize each and every South African to take to the streets until our demands are met. We must fight until all illegal immigrants have left our country, particularly those who are stubborn and are in the pockets of politicians. And remember, we did say that we give the government 3 months for phase 2 and another 3 months for phase 3. So currently we are in phase 2, and the 3 months ends in September. We will be engaging with progressive security companies to join hands with us in protecting our communities and fighting against the protection fee mafias. We further call on our SAPS to investigate all the security companies involved in these heinous acts, including Sarah. We thank all those that have supported us in the business and religious sector. And we also ask that the laws of this country apply to every single person of every single race, every single religion, and of every single class. Lastly, we thank the citizens and movements that have worked with us for the 30th of June protest, and to those that continue to work with us to ensure that our Thursday marches, pickets, and operations continue to be a success and will continue to happen all across the country. We are grateful to the legal people of Zimbabwe who came out to support a protest that was actually meant to be in solidarity with the people of Zimbabwe at the Zimbabwe embassy. But it looks like we can no longer create a place of comfort for Zimbabweans, since many of them decided not to protest in Zimbabwe. That means that our efforts had been in vain, and the lives of Bheki Mpilombedzi had been incarcerated for no reason. We call on the Zimbabwean government to be responsible and take care of its own people so that they no longer have to rush to South Africa for better opportunities or because of fear of their own government. And once again, we call for the Zimbabwean government to free Bheki Mpilombedzi. But from what we're hearing, they have actually released him on bail of $200 for simply staging a protest. And lastly, we would like to call on all the governments and the presidents that are currently in South Africa for the SADC. We have been barred from protesting because of the SADC, but our message must still go to them that while they are here in South Africa and while they are here in Durban especially, they must make sure that when they leave, they have come together and made a decision on how they're going to take care of their people and live with them. Unlike the president of Malawi, who came to South Africa while his people were in thousands at the drive-in, and he decided that he must just go back home without even so much as lifting a finger to show concern for his own people. That doesn't speak of a caring government. And the same care and love that they want us to have is the same care that we must see for them, from them, that they have for their own people. So instead of crying about xenophobia, the conversation needs to change now to being about African leaders and why are they continuously being dictators and mistreating their own people. If we were able to fight oppression back in the days and free ourselves from the oppression of white people, why then are our African people so afraid of fighting oppression from their own black leaders? So we call upon all of them to spend more time talking about the problems in their country, fixing the problems of their country, and less time talking about South Africa and what South Africans do in their own country. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our leader, our Winnie Matigizela Mandela of our time,
No.
our Lillian Ngoi in a Women's Month. So this is the statement of March and March movement. We want to just go straight to the Q&A session. We will allow 5 questions at a time so that we can see if we can respond. Let me open that opportunity for questions. Let me note hands.
My skin deserves deep nourishment. That's why I trust Nivea Rich Nourishing with 100%.
Okay, we've got 3 hands for now. SABC, you can start.
Thank you, Jacinta. My question to you is, there has been a call for the movement to become a political party, and although you have said numerous times that you want to focus on growing the party, do you foresee in the near future that could be a possibility? And my second question to you is, SADC is taking place in the next couple of days. We'll be seeing heads of state sending onto KwaZulu-Natal. You did touch on the fact that you've been barred from the premises. Will there be silent protests happening? Will there be demonstrations during that time when we'll be seeing heads of state in the country? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tabi Sokoba from Eyewitness News. I just want to ask about the 2 things that you mentioned at the start of your speech. You said that during the June 30 marches, there was no destruction of property and there was no harassing of foreign nationals. I just want to ask, I mean, obviously you've seen the looting that took place in Clement, Lulas, and all those other areas. Do you, and also speaking about the harassing of foreign nationals, we also saw that there was a lot of foreign nationals who were taken away from their homes and made to sleep on the streets on June 30 and the days that followed. By you saying that there was no destruction of property or harassing of foreign nationals, are you then insulating the movement from these ancillary events that happened during and after June 30? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm a freelance journalist. There are 2 questions. The first one, it relates to this one. I understand that the claims are that it was bribed with the President Ramaphosa. Can you make the findings of that investigation public, please? Because we really like to know what exactly happened. And the last question is about the 2 forums, or the forum and the foundation. Is it safe to say that you will be operating along the lines of what we have seen with AfriForum? I'm sure you know AfriForum, they give over and there. They also have their own foundations where they are dealing with academic matters of the Afrikaner community, unlike us who we only come together when fatherless time we try. Thank you.
Let's take all of them. Let's take the first one.
I think let's take those 3 first.
This one first.
Okay, yeah, we'll take those 3 first and then we'll give another round. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Question about the movement being a political party. I think there's a lot of pressure from people because I think IEC issued a statement saying that people no longer believe in democracy, which is something we've also seen on the ground because people have lost faith in political parties. but somehow people still feel bound to political parties. So they believe that if March and March becomes a political party, then they will be better represented. Personally, I don't feel that way. I don't feel like we'll do them much justice if we become a political party. I feel like they have a better chance of us listening to them if we're apolitical, because we can listen to anyone from any political party with any concerns. And on top of that, currently we do feel like the system is not conducive for people who think like us, if I can put it that way. I feel like the system is designed to get people to be stuck in the system. There are a few political parties out there who are actually looking out for the interest of the people. But if we're being honest, sitting here, all of us, how many political leaders do you look, or when you think of, you say, this one, when he wakes up in the morning, or when she wakes up in the morning, the first thing she thinks about is how she's going to change people's lives. I think politicians have made it a norm that the first thing they think about is how they're going to steal, how they're going to loot, how they're going to get money for themselves and their friends and their family. And we need South Africans to first cleanse themselves of that, because we are the ones that vote for people like that. So unless South Africans make a decision to say we are tired of this and this is what we want, then we will be no different. We'll serve no difference because we're still in the same system. And then in terms of SADC and protesting, I think, South Africa right now is being labeled as xenophobic all over the African continent and the world, and it's very frustrating that African leaders spend so much money to come to conferences like this, and they sit together and they make themselves feel good about each other and boost their egos. So for us, SADC should achieve what it's meant to achieve for the people. And if it doesn't do that, then we have to make our voices heard, not just as South Africans. That's why I wish other African citizens would focus more on their countries than they do on South Africa. Then our voices will be more impactful to things like SADC or the AU or parliaments, then we'll have a stronger chance of actually being a continent that makes the most of the resources that it has. But at the moment, I don't think we're able to achieve that. And when the opportunity presents itself to make our voices heard in SADC, we'll definitely take the opportunity. But the message is really, I feel like our government should be giving us as much and much, especially an opportunity to talk in that SADC, so that we can tell people the truth, or those leaders the truth that they don't want to hear. But unfortunately, we're in a country or in a system that where people only want to hear from people who agree with them, unfortunately. Because if they were honest with themselves, and if our government were the real government, they would make sure that March and March is there and is given an opportunity to speak to those SADC presidents. Because I know the problem with going there and just staging a protest is they're going to use the opportunity, as they did with Operation Tutula, to make them seem like vigilantes. And that's not the stand that we want. We want a proper opportunity to tell those African leaders exactly what the problem is in Africa today. And it's not March and March, and it's definitely not xenophobia. You asked me about looting and harassment, and I just want to make it clear. I think the government of South Africa can stand there in public platforms and shout that we're funded by Israel or whatever. But at the end of the day, they've got all the resources to prove that we are. So if our government wanted to prove that we are funded by Israel, they would have proved it by now. And if our government wanted to arrest us for looting or violence, they would have done it by now. But the reason they're not doing that is because they know that's not who we are. That's not what we've preached. That's not what we've encouraged. So the people who have been looting and doing whatever they've been doing in those areas, we ourselves have encouraged the government to arrest them, because that's not who we are. The minute we've been saying, the minute our conversation gets diluted around issues of crime and violence and violations of people's rights, etc., then the movement loses who it is. You were saying that foreigners were booted out of their places. And this is where I need the media to be honest. And I'm saying you guys because obviously you hold a far greater responsibility of controlling the narrative. Because we know since 2008, South African communities have been fed up with foreigners and illegal immigrants. We know this. It didn't help that on Sundays there's shows like Sizoktola or Vimba or the other shows that are there on TV that expose or fake marriages, all of that, fake pastors. That didn't help either. It made communities even angrier around the issue of illegal immigrants, because we have to sit back and watch people destroy our country and not do anything. So this is why communities, some of them, have decided to act the way that they did. But again, the responsibility lies with the government, because crime is a big thing in the country. We can't run away from that. There's crime everywhere. You can come out here, a criminal come out and rob you. You can't say it's Much and Much's fault that you are coming out of a press briefing and the criminal robbed you. No, a criminal robbed you because the country is full of criminals. So we're not going to take responsibility for issues of crime that we've never committed or encouraged. Ours has always been, people must come into the country legally, and the same laws that you expect us to respect is the same laws that foreigners and illegal immigrants must respect. But there's a lot of provocation going on right now. Because if communities, for example, say that they don't want Abdul's tuck shop anymore, and Abdul's tuck shop is selling rotten food, as has been proven, and our children are the ones that are dying, you can't blame the communities for saying Abdul leave if Abdul says I don't want to leave, and they take the food out and leave it outside for Abdul to pack it and go. That's not fair, because you're saying that communities must leave their children to die because you want to protect certain people or certain groups for certain reasons. It can't be fair. The government has itself proved that this food in tuck shops is not good, and children have died from that food. And every South African should have a right to say we don't want this food in our tuck shops, in our communities. If the food is so great and the government thinks it's so, they must take it to Mhlanga and take it to Durban North and take it to Sandton and take it to all these places. You can't say it's black communities that must stay with Abduls and them with their rotten food, while when you're not going to give the same standard of food to white communities and Indian communities. No. Or colored communities or any no community deserves that. No community at all deserves that. So all of them must leave if the community doesn't want them to leave. And then with those spaza shop mafias as well, that's why we're seeing people losing their lives, because those same criminals are criminals. But nobody wants to talk about the criminals. You talk about the reaction of the communities to the criminals, which is what I find to be very unfair. Talk about the spaza shop mafias, the Somalis and the Ethiopians and the Pakistanis and the Bangladeshis who are killing people because they want to protect this economy that they contribute nothing to. Because they go there, they get goods inside our borders, our porous borders, they come in with their rotten expired goods, or they buy them from these other shops, or they even make these rotten goods, and we are the ones that have to eat them. And when we say no, we don't want to eat them, we're told we're vigilantes. No, the vigilantism starts from whoever comes from their country claiming to be a refugee and wanting to run a spaza shop here and trafficking people. All of those things are things that are happening in our everyday lives. I think, let me put it this way. With the meeting with the president, the best person to know what happened with the money, if there was money, where the exchange, who deposited, who was paid, and then the full amount wasn't given, and then it was later, is Pagelum Tagat, because it was the two of them that went to that meeting. So I think the perfect person to ask is Payolo Mtharati. Ask about Ngizwe, ask Ngizwe about Payolo Mtharati. He'll get the perfect answer there. For us, we can only take from what we're getting. But unfortunately, with the Ngizwe Mchunu story, I mean, we've been getting him swearing at us, all of that. It's okay, we understand. It's not easy to leave something serious like this. You know, we're not creating content while we're here. This is serious. This is people's lives. So I think the aspect or the time for content creation is over now. Now we're dealing with serious business. I think that's where we end with Ngizwe, because I think he had his time and the time is over. Now we're into serious stuff. Yeah. And in terms of the two forums, you're going to answer, or should I? So yeah, I think with the AfriForum one, I can definitely confirm 100% yes, that is the idea behind it. Because from the many instances that we've heard, one, South Africans don't know their rights. And with not knowing their most basic of rights, they end up being abused by the very same people from the very same system, from police right through. So you find that foreign nationals know our laws more than South Africans, and they capitalize on it. So we don't want a situation where there's a case, for example, like Pastor Mchosti's sister, which is what really made us even more convicted. Because when we started this entire movement, that was one of the things we had first on top of our list. But when we saw Pastor Mchosti's sister going through what was going on, you know, from this man, pretended to be a person who's a priest, but he was also working as a car guard, comes into the country, pretends to be from Burundi. He's a trained militant soldier and has access to people's homes because of the pretense to be a pastor. Then when he's done all of this, he stabs her so many times. He has a protection order against him already. He cuts himself. The police take him to Wentworth Hospital. When he gets there, he went for a cut on his hands. But when he gets to Wentworth, he gets another foreign doctor who's a foreigner, who then decides, no, he's going to take him to a mental ward. So now this man is almost getting away with a crime because of a doctor, a professional, who's a foreigner. So where are we safe as South Africans? If we're not safe in our hospitals, in our homes, in our schools, we're not safe anyway. So this is one of the biggest motivations for us to make sure that we stand up for it. And really, for a forum like ours to thrive, we really do need to have a non-profit organization, because it feeds to each other. You know, a forum does not have money falling from the sky. You know, to litigate is very expensive. You know, getting a lawyer for these cases is very expensive. So we're hoping that we're going to be able to create a model where South Africans are able to create something like an AfriForum, where eventually we get to build our own schools, we get to do our own proudly South African things. And that's why we called our forum SA First, because it's South Africans First Forum. We come first in our country. And that's what it's all about. We're not negotiating anymore about who we are in our country. We've done that for many, many years, and right now it's time for it to end. Thank you. Do you want to say something before?
Yeah, I think that you've covered this very well there. Perhaps let's open for a second session of questions, if there's any. Okay, that's number one there. Do we have anyone? It's going. We may not get another chance to. Okay, in that order. Thank you.
Thanks, Red. My name is Kadesaka from SABC. You mentioned as the that Somalians, Pakistanis, and Nigerians are some of the people that are refusing to leave the country. What programs do we have to make sure that they leave the country or to confront them? Do we have any strategy to do it?
say. I've got like 2 questions. The first question is that we did see a lot of foreign nationals leaving towards the 30th, and trust me, when you go to companies, they do tell you that a lot of people have left and there's so much job opportunities out there. But when you speak to the owners, Jacinta, I must say, they complain that our own graduates, South Africans, are literally so lazy to work. I think I did two interviews I did last week where the owner was saying they refuse to work from 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock at night. They'll tell you they're tired, they don't want this. They end up, the South Africans, the ones controlling the CEOs, that's what they said. Probably what you're taking that path, that's is the job opportunities now. And if I could just say to Zulu, we have a jail, so if it's in Zulu and I'm getting so quite saying, I'm getting the opportunities are there and they're not going on. Probably what you're taking that, thank you.
Okay, thank you for those questions. Perhaps there's also a question on the foundation. If you could please touch on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. The foundation that we are establishing is South Africans, because much and much is South Africans. It's going to serve the people of South Africa, those that are victims of crime that is committed by illegal immigrants towards them, as well as the South Africans that are suffering because of the after effects of illegal immigration in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You said something about those that are refusing to leave. What is it that we're going to do? Look, like I said, this forum is all about that, litigating. The government cannot, and I mean cannot, keep illegal immigrants in the country when people and communities no longer want them. And what I always say is that in communities, when people say we don't want these illegal immigrants anymore, there's nothing, there's no government entity, there's no NPO that can force them back into the community. They must try. You see, the reason why when they force them out of the communities, they go and be displaced, and then they completely change the narrative, and it's no longer about illegal immigrants. Oh my God, look how many illegal immigrants we have in the country. It becomes, oh my gosh, it's a humanitarian crisis, right? They no longer address the issues, like I say, of where were these people living. I think these are the important questions we must know. Where were all those people who are there, the driving in, who are now in Musina, and some are even in Krugersdorp? Where were they living? What jobs were they doing? Because I've seen many of your interviews where you're asking them, what were you doing? No, things were bad. There were no longer any jobs in the country. So how were these people surviving? If you ask yourself, these are questions the government is refusing to put on paper so that they can convert them into statistics, because they love statistics, and it's anything you say, they say there's no statistics. But they're not gathering the statistics, so how are you going to have them? And then when you ask these people, your children, all these children now with schools that have opened, how were the children going to school if you have no money? Obviously, we were paying for that, right? So we're paying for them to stay in the country illegally. They're probably living off crime, some of them. They're here with their children who also need to live off our tax. They're living in informal settlements. They're living in these hijacked buildings. And on top of that, when they do that, now we also have to sacrifice our hospitals. There's no beds in hospitals. So all of these are problems that we've been complaining about. But instead of coming back and saying, no, you guys were correct, we see that these are some of the problems that were there. Can we hear what the communities were going through and how we can fix? No. They're diverting the attention back again to the foreigners leaving the country. To say, oh my God, they are so poor. Their children are on their backs. Oh, no South African must be blamed for a foreign national who's at the drive-through or who's displaced. It's not our fault. We didn't invite anyone into the country illegally. We were not the ones who were giving them jobs. We were not the ones who were there telling them that we are NPOs and NGOs representing them. So anyone who was aiding and abetting illegal immigrants needs to be the one that accounts for that. You can't turn around and make it our fault. I got a call earlier today from one of the I call it organizations that are taking care of foreign nationals there at Musina. And they were saying that they need us to help them to take care of the people because there's so many of them. They have to give them 3 meals a day. There's so many of them. They're saying there was 1,000 more that came today, I think. So I'm saying that if those people can come to us, the same people they claim are xenophobic, for help, and the NPOs and NGOs that have actual money that they've been given to help these people, and they're saying they're not helping them at all, they're not forthcoming, then how are they the ones that care more about these people than we do? Because if you have money, you've been given money, we don't have money to take care of them. We just want South Africa to function for South Africans. But they can come to us and ask us for help because they know we don't hate anyone. We just want the right thing to be done. And they're saying those NPO and NGOs are nowhere to be found. But guess what? They are planning a march against xenophobia. The issue is not xenophobia. And they're using it as a distraction from the actual crisis, which is an immigration crisis. Because you can't have so many people stay outside and they don't have food and they don't have... Where is the money that the NPOs are getting to take care of these people? I still ask, where is it going? Who's using it in those NPOs? What are they spending it on if the people can be displaced and they don't offer them food? That is one of the major concerns that we'll continue to raise. And for those that are refusing to leave, I'm telling you now, they are going to leave, unfortunately. South Africans have fought for this country. They died for this country in numbers. We fought apartheid. We fought oppression. We're not going to be oppressed by foreigners in our country and just let it slide. That's why we continuously are respecting the law. And we know that we will push the government to do something about these people. Whether they like it or not, they will do something about these people. But if they don't do anything about these people, communities will continue to reject them. And if they don't have communities to stay in, where are they going to stay? Where? Because the most important thing is if they have jobs, they'll stay. If they have communities to stay in, they'll stay. If they have none of the two, where are they going to stay? And then South Africans are lazy to work. Look, I think we must admit one of the beneficiaries of illegal immigration are capitalists. We always say this is the black market, it's the capitalist, it's the NGOs and NPOs. Those are the beneficiaries of illegal immigration. Now the capitalist always wants a way of making more money, even if it means treating people like slaves. We've seen this many times where people are complaining about Chinese and how they work people like slaves. We cannot continue to glorify that just because we want to perpetuate things like South Africans are not lazy. If the law says that a person must work 8 hours, it's not us that said that, it's the law. The same law they're saying we must respect. Everyone must respect the law in the country. You can't use the law when it favors you and say much and much is vigilantes when it favors you, yet you want to treat people as slaves and we don't call you vigilante. If anyone who breaks the law is a criminal. Well, I don't want people to make it nice just because they have money. No. If you are breaking the laws, you're also a criminal. And if you're breaking labor laws, you're no different. So now they've become accustomed to these desperate people who work for hours and hours like machines because they need money to send back home. Now they think that South Africans must live the same. No. South Africans know the law when it comes to how long they should work. I will not dispute the fact that there are South Africans who don't respect umsebenzi, which is something we always preach against. Say, you know what, if you're not ready to work, if you think Monday is still a very important day on your calendar where you must drink and then not go to work on a Monday, then carry on with that. Don't go and look for a job. Because right now you're not working just for yourself, you're working for the entire country. You know? And we always say that we don't want people who don't want to work. There are people who haven't worked for years who are desperate to find jobs. There are graduates who haven't worked who are desperate to find jobs. If you know you're not that person, stay at home and let those who really want to work, work. And if you're going to drink, we don't have a problem with you drinking. Just drink weekends or when you're off and then get ready for work the next day. We also don't want to encourage bad behavior like we're saying, all our people love working. That's not true. That's not true. But also it's unfair to say South Africans are lazy, like a blanket approach. No, you know, we need to be fair. Because if you are fair as an employer and you allow people to work certain hours, have a break where they're supposed to have a break, pay them what they're supposed to be paid, then if those people are not functioning well or they're not doing their job, you have every right to let them go. You have every right to fire them and get people who do want to work. But also we can't be saying now South Africans are lazy just because you want more outputs than you're paying for. That's not fair. That's not fair. But once again, we encourage South Africans, take your jobs seriously. Respect your jobs. Respect the people that you're working with, because jobs don't come easy. And we're seeing that in other countries, people are suffering a lot because they don't have jobs. So it's very important to respect it, respect yourselves, and respect this country, because you're also contributing to this country's economy by going to work and to your family as well. Thank you.
Irresistibly smooth Lindor chocolate in single pieces.
Don't bother with an expensive will. Do it like this instead. Many South Africans still don't have a will.